tell us more about arXiv.
Again.
Something different.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't want to steal it.
No. Thank you. Yeah, hello everyone. To my second talk again on arXiv, not surprisingly, about arXiv processing. If you have seen my talk 2 years ago on arXiv, that was very early when I joined arXiv. You will see a lot of repetition, not repetition, but the changes that happened since then. So what I want to introduce two things that we actually develop also as open source, a kind of quick, we call it Preflight parsing, a parser of whatever is thrown at it, a static code, and a dockerized compiler, which runs all our compilation at arXiv nowadays. Okay, I just have the slides in, but you have seen them the last time, so I skip over them because it's anyway. Yeah, that's maybe interesting. So for arXiv, we try to be open with everything. So we have open science, that is very important, like everything is open and accessible, including the source code of 90% of the papers we have. That was a great decision by Paul Ginsberg, who started back in '91. We're still grateful that he started to collect the sources and not only the PDFs, because we can now actually also produce the HTML, as I told yesterday. Open source, we use a lot of open source tools. We contribute a lot of open source tools. Maybe yesterday that came over a bit unclear, so the new Rust rewrite of LaTeX ML was not by me, that was by Dejan Ginev, who is also the maintainer of the Perl version, one of the maintainers of the Perl version. So that was not my work, I just want to make this clear. And we also, yeah, so LaTeX ML. And then, well, open access, about accessibility, I talked about a bit yesterday, there's much more to say. A bit about arXiv. So we have text documents from over 30 years. To give you an idea, we have like 90% of our submissions are LaTeX. There are plain text, there are EMS text, there are, well, we have docs. Also we have some Windows doc, also WinWord, that was permitted, I don't know, 20 years or 15 years ago for some time. We don't do this anymore. PDF data is generated, it's considered generated. That has a history because we had not enough disk space, so we deleted old PDFs that were not requested for some time. We stopped this practice because it's a bit of a pain, but still we want to be able to reproduce and recreate all the PDFs at any time. We had till, let's say, 1.5 years ago, until I took over, we had a lot of additional packages shipped. Mostly those that publishers don't put on CTAN and don't put in TUG Live. Then we have my most beloved time bomb Jonathan Fine package writer. Those who know laugh. It's not fun if you want to recreate a paper from 10 years ago and then it fails because a certain person decides, anyway. Not to speak of all the contexts that authors are doing. That would be a separate talk, just examples of really bad TUG and LaTeX code. Anyway, we keep documents, as I said, compilable. And we compile them with the original. We have to compile them because otherwise they would probably fail or not fail completely or look completely different. So we compile them with the original version, which means at the moment we have TTUG 2 and 3. I mentioned this yesterday, so this is very old. And TUG Live we have at the moment this list here. So for just a funny side effect, TTUG 2 we have only 32-bit binaries. That is nice on your computer if you run Linux, because 32-bit emulation is automatically enabled on most of the Linux distributions, but not in the GCP cloud. So there is no 32-bit emulation on GCP. So you try to run a 32-bit binary, and this doesn't work. So we have to use QEMU to run 32 bits to run TTech2 and TTech3. Not the funniest thing, but it somehow works. It's not only tech, it's also like DVIPS and Ghost script and yeah, a lot of stuff that hangs around behind there. So the past at arXiv was a system that was called Autotech. Again, as I mentioned already yesterday, it was written, okay, I don't repeat. So a Perl system like over the last 30 years. There's a super old version on CPAN. Don't try it. It's super tightly coupled with our submission process. It does magic detection of the format by reading 5 lines. Hopefully that works. Especially if you have %dash at the beginning, it thinks it is a PostScript file, which is not a very good detection. It also tries all kind of non-rejected formats. It tries these formats in a loop and just takes the first that just happened. So we run LaTeX, and so with auto-injection of hyperref, and so a lot of things were automatically done. What actually was supported was DVIPS PS to PDF run, so plain LaTeX or tech. The PDF LaTeX route was also added, and for plain tech we only had actual plain tech and then DVIPS PS. LaTeX did run until stable, until to a max number with references missing or something. Plain tech was only runs once, and we had put together multiple PDF pages with multiple PDFs with PDF pages. So that was the system. Also, there was no way for the submitter to actually indicate which file should be compiled, which is a huge problem because many people just upload also templates of their journal and other documents or the same document in 3 different variants. And Autotech compiled all of them and put them all together. So there were a lot. So what were the problems? Well, first, no LuaTech, no XeTech support. BibTech, Biba, MacIndex was not supported. Your people were needed to upload the BBL file. And that was always painful because it was always out of date, references missing, wrong versions, real problem. MacIndex was not supported at all. Then PDF pages, if you have tried to merge PDFs with PDF pages and have links in there, they are just broken afterwards, which is also not very nice. I mentioned already the detection of the main document was often incorrect. Then, if you have seen an arXiv paper, maybe on the left, we normally have some watermark. Also, that was very fragile. It didn't detect, so it sometimes printed over stuff. Well, many things. Probably many more things I haven't seen, well, I didn't mention. So, yeah, we also had, okay, we did run, or till very recently run on Cornell IT servers, and so every time a new server was installed, the whole text system had to be installed. It just happened once in the beginning when I was at arXiv that we realized that all the PDFs had no fonts embedded suddenly because, not the PDF, the PostScript files had no fonts embedded. No, the PDF also had no fonts embedded, which was very strange because if the font was not available, you probably have seen these nice wobbly letters. Yeah, so because it was incorrectly set up, there are not, I have to say at the current moment, there are not very many tech experts at arXiv, and so the setup was sometimes broken. So what we did over the, let's say, last 1.5 years, so the one big part is like everything is going to the cloud. We have to leave Cornell Tech, since we are also now independent, and in addition to replace am using Perl code with a bit more standardized Python. And one of the big things was getting rid of the auto part. We really want submitters to decide which main file do you want to compile, which PDF LaTeX or LaTeX or whatever, and maybe also we'll see later which TechLive version. Because, I mean, this is a decision they have to do. We shouldn't do this automatically. And then also add a lot of new features. So to give you an idea how, I mean, has anyone submitted a paper to arXiv in recent times? Yes, 3, 4, not a lot. So what happens, I just give you a quick flow. You first come to a page where you have to do these preliminaries, yeah, license agreement and confirmation of authorship, and yeah, you are the author. Then you upload the files. You can upload whatever, more or less whatever you want. And then we run a Preflight. This is what I talk afterwards about. This is a quick parser of text files, not only text files. This gives a response, so it auto-fills in, like if it finds only one new top-level file, then it's automatically selected. It selects the engine. I will talk about this. Then the user selects the TechLive version. At the moment we support 23 and 25. Selects the main input file. I mean, the Preflight does it for you, but it might be incorrect. The author selects the compiler, which can be Tech, PDF LaTeX, or XTech nowadays. And then there's a test compilation that goes through the dockerized version I will talk about later. If there is success, the author should check the PDF. Unfortunately, many people don't do this. Then there's metadata input and it's finished. So that's the run. We have also afterwards, offline, it's called the publish cycle. When we assign arXiv IDs, we have another tech compilation running that recompiles and puts also the watermark that will be simplified in the future. So that looks more like, so what's the information we get from the Preflight? The first thing is like select the compiler here. It's automatically selecting PDF LaTeX. So there is also a change. Before the default was LaTeX with TVIPS. We switched now the default to PDF LaTeX and 2025 TechLive. You can select the others. You can select the top level tech file. You can add multiple. If you have multiple top level files, you can have 3, 4 files that compile. And the Preflight also does some quality checks. Like for example, here we have some of these very nice people who submit images of, I don't know, 10 million, 100 megapixel or something, so 10,000 by 10,000s, and then they imagine just putting this in an A4 page that is about the resolution, I don't want to know, like 3,000 pixel per inch. I don't know why, especially since often it's... Why?
Some people do experiments with satellite imaging.
Yes, sure, but if you put it in the PDF, it doesn't make sense. I agree that those data is very important, should put in the ancillary files that people can look at the high resolution image, completely agreed. But often these are just graphics stitched together. Yeah. Anyway, so that looks like this. We also show the file list of what has been uploaded. This is actually a real submission. And we give some notes on the auto detection, like what should be kept. And well, here the bib file is here and the BBL file is here. So in this case, the BBL file will be used. User can then delete files if they're not used. So what is Preflight? What is doing this? So this is a really simple parser. So our aim was, well, we cannot run tech because it might time out, it might error, it doesn't really help. We want to help the submitter to select the correct thing, because we have seen it, and we still see it too many times, that the submitter just upload strange things, select incorrect things. So we at least want to nudge them in the correct way. So what it does at the moment is read all those files, text, style, LTX, PDF, text, PDF, TF files. It checks all the image files are there. The checking of the image file supports the graphic path if you have it in the LaTeX code. It generates from the text files. It checks for all inclusions. I show you which inclusion comments are used, like include graphics or input. It generates a forest of what is there, and then it determines what are the top-level files. It determines the engine, the top-level file, the document class that doesn't need to be in the top-level file, right? You can have a tag file that starts with whatever and then includes a file that contains the document class. So even this, we have these cases, so we have to deal with this. That works. It determines the engine by, well, just checking which packages are loaded, what kind of comments are there. It determines the language, whether it's plain text or LaTeX, by just trapping for typical examples. So these are the current set of include comments that are supported. I went through, thanks to several people from the LaTeX team, they gave me a long list, and I went through a lot of packages. It's definitely not complete, but it's a sufficient, it's a considerable selection of what you can do, including loading CSV files and data files and all this kind of stuff. So bibliographies are handled also correctly. So if the BBL is there, we also check the BBL version. Now BBL version, this is only happening when you run Biber, because then it generates an XML file that has a version number. And if you run it with a different bib.latex version, you get an error. So we check for this. We check the presence of the necessary bib files that are included, which, the BBL format I mentioned. And whether we can regenerate the BBL or we cannot regenerate. Might be that some bib file is missing, then we cannot regenerate it. But that's fine. People still continue to upload BBL files, and some people just upload the bib files. Both is fine. By the way, the same works with the index files. It supports also the index files. You can name them very strangely. You can have arbitrary names for this intent index file. All of this is supported. Other features that Preflight does, so it does a file presence check. So it pipes all files that, not completely all files, I don't go into details, but it actually looks them up with libcapacere. The first try was with the command line, but it was far too slow. So with help of people, there's a TUG script that you just send the files to the TUG script with the necessary extensions, and the TUG script returns which files it had found. The stuff that is returned from Preflight then normally excludes the files from the techmfdist directory, right? We assume this is there, but if you load some other files that should be in your upload, and it's not there, then Preflight will tell you, hey, did you upload this file? It is missing or it is used. We do image checks, as I mentioned above. It does check for 34 megapixel. This is, I think I computed this by a A4 page at 600 or 1200 dpi. That should be enough for everything. It also checks for PNG files which can be embedded quickly into PDF LaTeX. So their PNG files are internally zlib compressed, and if they have an alpha channel, if they have some properties, then the embedding into the PDF by PDF LaTeX needs to recompress, also uncompress and recompress the file, and that takes a lot of time and can time out the LaTeX compilation because we have time limits. We have more checks like embedded JavaScript code, so we don't want JavaScript, sorry Media 9. And then I don't know why, but maybe it's the fingers are used to type something else that they want, because there are PDF files like every other day that are actually PNG files. I don't know why, but yeah, it happens. Interestingly, LaTeX accepts this without, it doesn't care for whether it's a PDF or PNG, it just works. Our authors are unhappy when I tell them this is a PNG, not a PDF, but anyway. Okay, so what is returned from Preflight? I mean, there is a formal specification in Bacchus normal form, but I mean, it basically gives a status which is either, okay, I succeeded to parse this or error. Then it gives a list of TUG files that it has found. We go into details what is in this array here. Detect the top-level files, because there can be multiple. Image files, ancillary files. So this is mostly for arXiv, because people can upload ancillary files exactly for this case where you have high-resolution images that accompany the article. And maybe used files, I actually forgot what it was. The Preflight couldn't determine what it is, but it might be used. So the TUG file entries just check whether it contains document class, the file name, whether it's LaTeX or TUG, which other files are included. These are image files or data files. And then there's an array of issues. So we collect issues like a missing file that is included, or yeah, there are a lot of issues that are connected here. They detect the top-level files. Again, the file name, hyperref found. That's more or less history, but it came back from times. Then how to process it. I define a compiler by the engine, the language, the output format, and the post-processor. We don't support it by now, but in future I'm thinking also about supporting uptech. And you could also, in principle, support XLaTeX with DVI output and then DVI PDFMX. There are people who want this. It's all laid out to support this in principle. At arXiv, we only support a much smaller part at the moment. And again, issues for the top-level file here. The image file, well, straightforward file name, file bytes, I mean the size, width and height of the image, how many megapixels, and this detection whether it can be copied quickly into the PDF. This image is returned. So Preflight status, it is now in production since over a year. It runs on every single submission that people send. Yes, well, not completely. Well, we have HTML submissions also, it doesn't run on the HTML. It is stable, we haven't had any single crash in the last year. It just returns errors might be, but in most of the cases it just works. Of course, I mean, it's a simple parser, right? It's super easy to break, not to break, but just to do things that it doesn't support, right? The easiest thing is like defining your own include graphics macro. Like define a macro that use include graphics, because we don't do macro expansion by now. I'm working on this. So there's also no, as I said, no macro, no cat codes, no frisk, nothing else. Also support for, there's a lot of those freezers, you know, when you have listings or SVG or something, that pre-compute stuff and then only include them. Some of them we support already. The biggest one that is open for me is the SVG package support I'm working on. So it might not be perfect, but for our audience, actually it works very nice, right? The papers we get at arXiv normally, in by far most of the cases, don't have like super complicated macro programming on the LaTeX side. It's mostly like small definitions. We have the occasional people who put include graphics into a macro by themselves, but I run it over like tens of thousands of submissions, and it worked by far over 90%. So it is usable, it is not perfect, far from. I'm more than happy if people contribute or improve it. Yeah, so that's Preflight, as I said. The next one is dockerized compilation. This is, again, very simple. It's a web service. We had a far more complicated web service that actually uses also GCP buckets and all this kind of stuff and was written to serve the arXiv pages. We dropped this completely. It's not necessary. We just have this text to PDF service now. You just upload the TUG with the files and preferably a 00 readme JSON. I don't go into much details here. It returns again a TUG which contains at least one JSON file. The JSON file might be just tell you, okay, that didn't work, or it tells you all the runs that it made, like LaTeX, BibTeX, DVI-PS if it was necessary, and also includes then the generated files. It works. We have, so this is, the service is much more complicated than it looks on the surface, because, as I said, we have to compile old versions too. So we put all of these TTech and TechLive that run still Autotech behind the same API, and we allow one of the front, the most recent, to be a proxy and then just call back to other compilation services. So we have, for every of the tech system you saw there before, we have one web service running. It's a cloud function, cloud run, that hangs there and sleeps basically until someone wants to compile something in this version. So this is this auto-dispatch to the respective TechLive years. That is probably only interesting for us, because the API endpoints are very simple, just convert. You can send, if you want run Preflight, you just send Preflight v2. Don't ask why, it's a long history. API can be simplified, actually I'm doing this. You can send various watermark parameters if you want to stamp a watermark on top of this, archive ID or timestamps. So the submission you send normally should contain a so-called 00readme.json, which defines what is the top-level file, which should be compiled with which compiler. So that is the decisions the user made. You can just put it in yourself. You can call with autodetect and it runs Preflight and automatically runs the front. You can run the stamp by yourself, and then there's just some TechLive whatever endpoints about what TechLive is used there. So new features we have, based on these two things, a few new features we have rolled out over the last year. First of things, bubble wrapping over calls. Max helped a lot here. I'm greatly indebted to him. So all the calls are, so to say, in a stronger than a change root. I don't go into the Linux details here. We added bib to BBL conversion that was not there, including auto detection of which bib-LaTeX driver they are using. Still the presence of submitted BBL wins. Same for Mac index compilation, it is there. We added XLaTeX compiler, which got super big pickup. Very simple reason, because people often use EPS and PDF. And PDF LaTeX, as we run it, we don't have shell escape, so we cannot run the EPS to PDF. So lots of these nowadays use XLaTeX if this is. We added, I mean, this is just a gadget. I think nobody actually uses PDF tech. I mean, plain tech with PDF output anyway. The PNG size check I mentioned already. I improved the watermarking, first with PyMu PDF, but then due to the invasive license of PyMu PDF, we had to eviscerate this again and now use PDF Oxide and Pike PDF for that. Unfortunately, well, yeah. The concatenation we changed also. As I mentioned before, the PDF pages just destroys the internal link. Also, I first used GhostScript, but that also had problems. Nowadays, I use a funny tool, PDF CPU. I wasn't aware of that, but it's the only tool I know that consistently concatenates multiple PDF files and preserves links outside, inside the document, everything. And it's written by a Viennese developer, surprisingly. It's not me. Sort, I mean, you don't, that's not important. Sort is a standard for submitting stuff. We also pass this out. There is a lot of wishlist items, I have to say. So LaTeX support, I still need a bit more testing. And font cache setup, again, Max already suggested a lot of things, it's just my time too low. Then endless improvements to Preflight. The cache support I mentioned already, especially the SVG part. A big problem is that the LaTeX core had considerable changes in TechLive 2024 onward, that a lot of publisher packages are breaking. So I'm not really sure how to go forward here, especially since we want to introduce 2026. But we probably have to keep 23 for those packages. Yeah, I'm not very happy about this, but nothing to do about. I'm also working on better QA handling. So we have quality criteria, so we don't want line numbers, we don't want LaTeX documents that only include images as pages, because, well, we want the source code, not images, right? This is already a work in progress and will probably deploy it. Okay, so it's available, it's open source, you can use it, it is under this, there is a lot of stuff there. It's very much work in progress. I do fix a lot of things now and then. There is no releases, no packages by now. That will come when it has settled at some point. There's insufficient documentation, I have to say. Just ask me. I will. No, I mean, so the formats and all the documents are actually formally specified. I just have to transfer them from the arXiv pages, which are not accessible to the public, to the repository. The 00 README file is also documented there. I skipped this here. So this is available here. And yeah, thanks to all the developers and of tools that go into TUG Live. And Island of Tech team who builds our base containers for TUG Live. They do a lot of work. Okay, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Do we have any questions? I see Carl. How about you?
I just have one. I need this one. I just have one non-technical question. We can talk about the technical ones later. At the beginning, you said arXiv was very open. Do you see that changing after July 1st?
No. None of the things, well, I cannot speak for the future, right? None of the things at the moment are changing. We still publish our financial report, just came out for the last year. The committees, the councils all are out. We have no intention to change the policy about source code uploads. So the change to NPO, the aim is that there is, besides the color and the ink, there should be no other change to users, right? That's the aim, right?
Good. John Bowman. I was a little worried about the pre-flight inspection. What happens if that fails? Because I'm like one of those people who I like to avoid duplicate labels and file names. I use the same, so I have a macro for my include graphics, for example. Will that fail? And I have
if it fails, the user can always select everything manually by themselves.
Oh, great.
So it is not a forced on the user. It's a suggestion to the user. It's not perfect, I know it, so I would never say, okay, this is what you have to do. User can always override what is there. People do this and they fail because they think they upload and they want to compile with LaTeX, so they select LaTeX and then they have PDF and PNG files and wonder why it doesn't compile.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so no problem on this side.
Thank you. This is Tactile. For the older version of TFLab, there are some known security vulnerability. Did you address this kind of problem in your system?
Well, no. We use the... Well, it's okay. I speak loud enough, and I have the stuff here. So yes, I'm well aware. So for example, we don't support, well, LuaTech we anyway don't support by now, which is the biggest. The other, we don't support shell escape completely. And then every run is in a change route that is even strengthens by Linux namespace separation without network access, without access to the process table. So, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's the best we can do. I will not patch TTech2 or I don't know, TUG Live 2009 or something. Yes, I know this is a problem. That's one of the big reasons that all this, the security, putting them as compartmentalized as possible, we did over the last year.
Boris.
Well, not me, but a user from the chat suggested looking into MTX run for combining files because it's also preserves links. the TUG Live MTX run.
Yes, that needs like LuaTech and 50,000 other things. And
Thank you for
Yeah, thank you for the suggestion.
We're a little bit over here. I think we need to break for lunch, but let's
Yeah.
thank Norbert again.
Yeah, thanks everyone.